Testing and replacing the blower motor in a RUUD, RHEEM or similar furnace after displaying code 61. HVAC gas furnace stops blowing air and displays error code 61. What does it mean? According to the error code description on the furnace label, there is something wrong with the blower motor and it cannot run. Description of the error code on the furnace label displayed by the furnace. The causes of furnace motor blower failure may be bad motor, wiring or mechanical. Motor ECM, electronic control module, failure. PFC, power factor choke, is faulty. Furnace data is faulty or corrupted. Wiring is loose or damaged. To quickly check the blower motor and eliminate some causes of error, no special tester is needed. How to test the motor without a special tool will be shown in this video. To make a simple test circuit, you will only need 2 pieces of 12-gauge solid copper wire. This could be from 12 to nm cable. Before testing the motor itself, test the furnace in either cooling or heating mode, or both, to see if the problem still occurs. Testing in cooling mode. Set the temperature on the thermostat below room temperature until the thermostat calls for cooling. Reset the code by turning off the furnace disconnect. After a few seconds, restore power to the furnace. The furnace display shows that the thermostat is requesting cooling. The AC compressor starts and the furnace should start up. If the furnace does not start or starts and runs for a short time and then stops, error code 61 will be displayed. Testing in heating mode. Set the temperature on the thermostat above room temperature until the thermostat calls for heating. Reset the code by turning off the furnace disconnect. After a few seconds, restore power to the furnace. The furnace display shows that the thermostat is requesting heating. The furnace-induced draft motor, IDM, starts. The heater flame begins to heat up and after a short time the blower should start. If the furnace does not start, or if it starts and runs for a short time and then stops, error code 61 will display and the furnace will stop heating and turn off. In the furnace problem described above, it will most likely be a faulty blower motor. To be sure it is the blower motor, you will need to check the motor. Turn off the furnace. Open the blower compartment. Check the wiring for loose connections or damage. Blower motor, IBM, indoor blower motor. Blower door switch. Power factor choke, PFC. Control transformer, CT 24 volts. Motor control wiring receptacle, P5. Motor control wiring plug. Motor power wiring, 120 volts. Memory card, inserted. Make sure that power, 120 volts, is present at the motor plug when the furnace is turned on. To test the blower motor, disconnect the motor control wiring plug from the receptacle on the furnace control board, P5. P5 plug low voltage connector wires. Orange and brown wires, 3 and 4, 24 volts to motor ECM. Red and yellow wires, 1 and 2, motor ECM communication wires. 2 pieces of 12-gauge solid copper wires, stripped on both ends about 1/2 inch. Insert the 2 pieces of prepared wires into pins 3 and 4 of the plug with the orange and brown wires. "24 volts wires from a 24 volts transformer connected to the furnace control board pins. Disconnect the 24 volts transformer wires from the control board and insert them onto the other ends of the prepared wire pieces. Turn on the disconnect and press the door switch or close the blower compartment door. The blower motor, if operational, starts and runs in full mode. When the motor is bad, it will not start at all, or it will start and then stop after a few seconds. If it does not run at full speed, the motor ECM is probably defective and the motor and ECM should be replaced. And motor ECM failure most often causes the blower motor to fail. After the test, turn off the disconnect, reconnect the transformer wires and the motor control cable plug to the furnace control board, and replace the motor if it is faulty. To replace the motor, you must purchase the same or a replacement motor that can work in the given furnace. To order the correct motor, you must know the furnace model number or the motor label information. HVAC stores or the manufacturer can select the appropriate motor based on the model and serial number taken from the furnace. To obtain data from the motor must be removed. A label on the furnace with the furnace model and serial number. Motor data label on blower motor. Make sure the power to the furnace is turned off. Turn off the furnace circuit breaker. To replace the blower motor, remove the blower and motor from the blower compartment. Thermostat cable. If necessary, disconnect the thermostat cable wires. When disconnecting any wires, remember to mark them correctly so that they can be reconnected in the same way later for the furnace to function properly. Take a photo or label it with a description. The screw that secures the control board base to the blower assembly. Snap-in tab of control board base. 24 volts wires from the transformer connected to the control board. PFC, power factor choke, connector. Blower ground wire with ground screw. 120 volts wires from the transformer connected to the control board. Igniter wire. Low voltage wiring plug for blower motor. Memory card. Remove the screw securing the control board mounting clamp. Pull the control board base tabs from the blower housing, and disconnect any wires that prevent the control board from being pulled aside. Set the control board aside. Blower motor plugs. Disconnect the motor plugs and set them aside. Control board and wiring temporarily placed on the side of the furnace. The screw securing the blower to the furnace body from the blower motor side. The screw securing the blower to the furnace body from the air return side. Blower slide track. Remove the screws securing the blower to the furnace body on both sides. Slide out the blower assembly. (120 volts) furnace power junction box. If the furnace power junction box prevents removal of the blower, the junction box must be disconnected and removed. Slide the blower back in and disconnect and remove the 120 volts power junction box. Slide the blower out and remove it from the furnace body. Place the blower with the blower rotor facing up. Blower rotor. Blower motor axle. Blower rotor screw securing the rotor to the motor axle. Loosen the screw securing the rotor to the motor axle. Turn over the blower. Blower motor. Motor brackets. Screws with washers securing the motor to the blower. Remove the 4 screws securing the motor bracket to the blower body and remove the motor. Mark the orientation points for the motor bracket on the motor, which may be helpful when installing the bracket on the new motor. Motor bracket orientation markings on the motor. Screw securing the bracket to the motor. Remove the bracket from the motor. Blower motor label. All the data on the motor label is important, but to easily find a new motor, the custom model number tells you everything about that motor. These numbers tell you everything about the specific motor programmed for a given furnace unit. For example, if you type your furnace brand and custom model number into your web browser, you'll get all the other motor data. For example, type RUUD 5110260301. New, same but refurbished blower motor, ready for installation. The custom model number is the same, so it will fit perfectly in place of the old, damaged motor. Blower motor bracket. Recess in the bracket leg for placement in the recess of the bracket ring. Recess in the bracket ring for placing the recess of the bracket leg. Cuts in the motor housing. Install the motor bracket removed from the failed motor onto the new motor. When installing the motor bracket on a new motor, make sure that the bracket legs are located near the motor cutouts, like the old motor. The recess in the bracket leg for placement in the recess of the bracket ring and the recess in the bracket ring for placing the recess of the bracket leg fit together. The top distance of the bracket legs from the edge of the motor is about the same as the old motor. Tighten the motor bracket ring screw. Insert the motor axle into the hole in the blower rotor and place the motor in a similar orientation position as the previous one. Attach the motor brackets with the motor to the blower body using the washers and screws removed when removing the motor. Motor receptacles for power and control wiring. Motor receptacles. They are in a similar position to the one in which the motor was previously installed, to be able to reach the receptacles and plug the motor wires. Turn the blower. Unequal gap on both sides of the rotor. The rotor touches the other side of the blower body. Flat part of the motor axle. Adjust the rotor evenly between both sides of the blower body and tighten the rotor screw on the flat part of the motor axle. The blower rotor is evenly positioned on both sides of the blower body. The screw is tightened on the flat part of the motor axle. Blower slide track on the return air side. Blower slide track on the motor side. Slide the blower into the blower slide track on the furnace housing. The blower is inserted in a sliding track on the furnace housing. Secure the blower to the furnace housing using previously removed screws. Blower secured with screws. Reinstall the furnace control board. Slots for the control board base. Tabs of the control board base. Insert the lower tabs of the control board base into the slots for the blower control board base on the blower. Lower tabs of control board base inserted. Press the base of the control board towards the blower to engage the top tabs into the slots on the blower. Top tabs of control board base inserted. Secure the control board to the blower with the mounting clamp and screw. Control board secured to the blower. Reinstall the power junction box if it was removed and reconnect the furnace to power supply. Connect the power and control wire plugs to the motor. Plugs connected to the motor. Reconnect any wires previously disconnected from the furnace control board. Make sure all wires are reconnected correctly and in the same way as before. Reconnect the thermostat cable wires if they were disconnected. Using cable ties, group and secure internal wiring neatly to prevent damage. Close the furnace blower compartment. Restore power to the furnace. Turn on the furnace disconnect. Set the thermostat to test the furnace for cooling and heating. If this video is helpful, please subscribe. Comments are welcome.